So they don't have money. So that's a kind of like an exchanging.
So I think so. Does that mean that Chinese company doing well in Africa? They make a highway rail and highway road, and also they make a building, and they make lots of investment there. So they are completed everything. And some African countries.
That's very impressive, by the way.
Some African countries complain them because of they bring many Chinese from China. The reason is very simple, like you said. Local Africans they don't work. So that's the reason I try to invite Chinese people, especially for the little sophisticated and complicated work.
But I'm convinced that if you give Africans future, where you can say, okay, stability, a safety net, good living circumstances that they can see 10 years, 15 years down the line and say, okay, there will not be a drought, famine, war, a new ruler who will plunges into a new economic disaster.
Exactly. So
then people will start to invest.
So this is, I think, every country, they need to much more emphasize on education, okay, for young people education. But the problem is just I told you, the children is working as prostitute, children working as soldiers. Very difficult to give them education. Elementary, they don't go to elementary school. They don't need to. They had better get in a more relaxed way or to get money or get food. It's better for them. But still, I think that we need to give them education. What kind of environment do they have? But this is true answer. But not easy to escape from poverty. But poverty and happiness is different.
Right. Absolutely.
So, but many people misunderstanding.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So, South America is the same, and Africa is the same. Still, I don't understand what is the best way to give them how to give them happiness and satisfaction of their life. What is it? This is, I think, we need to consider for those things.
I think a big solution is actually a sense of belonging to somewhere, a big sense of community. A lot of people who go from Africa from the countryside to the city. One of the things that they are confronted with, of course, is the difference between rich and poor. But another one is also that they lose their roots, their social network, and that means a lot, especially in Africa, because you can always fall back on the rich guy in town or the elderly guy. I met a guy who was 87. He had 29 women, 29 wives, I believe. He was taking care of them. His youngest wife was in her early 20s. But of course, this guy is not really, he's not really their husband in that sense. Basically, these women are poor women. He's rich, so he just lets her live inside their community. They cook, they do a little working, the kids do a little cattle herding, and then I stayed there a couple of days. Then when it gets dark, everybody comes back. The women have prepared a little ugali. It's nothing. It's really like it's just corn, grinded corn with water, and with a little soup of something in a kettle. So 2 kettles, one with ugali, one with soup. Then a fire is made, and they start singing. They eat. Everybody takes a little of that ugali, the corn, out of the pot, and put it in the soup, eat it, and then they start dancing. Dancing.
No, by the way, I have
and completely happy.
Yeah, if he has 26 or 28 wives, is he happy? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I could not really communicate with him. I came there through his son.
Yeah, he just when I was
But I think he was happy.
Yeah, when I was young, the same as me, I went to Africa, and Muslim country they can have 5 wives.
Right.
And one of my friend is son of this father. Father has 5 wives, and he told me he's moving day by day. Okay, moving around wives equally. This is Muslim world. Is rule, very strict rule.
Right.
So he's moving around every day. 5 families. It's very tough. Before World War II, many Japanese rich people owned several concubines. Okay, it's very difficult to maintain those families. Even in Japan, Muslim the world, Africa same, not easy. And this Muslim world is they just go outside further. First wife, second wife, third wife, fourth wife, fifth wife. To get together working around, okay? And equally they need to going to take care of. This is rule of law. So this is I believe those people are not happy. They have rich. That's the reason why they're going to show I have money. I have many wives.
So also they are the only in the case of this. There is no social security, nothing. So these women either die or somebody takes care of them.
So also you said social security and also social community. You told that.
Yeah.
But Somalia, they have no government, but they have lots of social communities.
Right.
And they have 4G network everywhere, and Facebook and everything is free, right? This is because of no government, no tax. But I think their people they control their social community by themselves. But no security, so very risky walking around. Some places very dangerous area.
Right.
But otherwise, their way of life is very well. So, okay, going back to discussion, we're going to I'm doing the democracy. What is the best way? What is democracy? It's not election, okay? Not parliament members, what they are doing. No, this is a level of life. How people living there is happy or not. This is a standard. But actually, current measurement is GDP per person. But this is not accurate, showing their level of life.
No.
So, what we're going to do, okay, in the world, okay? My aspect is Japanese people, we can deliver something for them. What is it? This is my big concern. What kind of things we can deliver for them?
Well, I really believe that I was very impressed with the lady, what's her name, with her donut economy model. I think that's basically a very sound approach towards measuring the value of an economy. Like
what was that?
That was the inside was the donut. Basically, the donut was the area where people were able to live sustainable, because everything outside was like extinction, climate change, whatever. So basically, there was the pressure that we put on our environment. Inside was basically the basic needs that need to be fulfilled for people. So we need nutrition, education, democracy, all the basic rights that people need to be happy. So you cannot ignore that. You cannot say, okay, well, the people in Africa are just as happy with the people who are not there, because the reality is also that whenever there is a malaria plague, people will die, and it's very miserable because it's so easy to avoid with a little money. So I think that there is a correlation with money. We need some basic level of money so that we can be comfortable and that we can be able to invest in ourselves and in our future, develop ourselves. Because, lying under a tree in itself, people may be happy, but it's also okay. I mean, for me, I find it difficult to believe that is really truly fulfilling only on that day. But it will make you very vulnerable for whatever.
So what he said?
So she said that basically we need to change our model, our way of thinking. now it's completely focused on maximizing output, maximizing GDP. But we need to look at finding a way, creating a society that is sustainable in a way that it takes care of our basic needs, but it does not overshoot in a way that it puts too much pressure on our environment. It's actually, I think it was
yeah, I remember this is the environment outside.
I think I left it in here somewhere because I thought we were going to discuss it. Yeah.
Donuts. Yeah, donuts economy.
Nope.
I can't read.
Then let's make it bigger. So the green space, the light green space, the safe and just space for humanity. You have if you go inside of the donut, then you have a shortfall, an economic shortfall. That means that there's not enough income and work for people. There's unemployment, not good education, not good health care. There is a lack of food, water, energy, networks, housing, gender inequality, social inequality, and not enough political voice, peace and justice. So if those things are not taken care of, there is a shortfall in the economy. But if we are going to maximize, for example, the production of food, the production of all kinds of other goods, without looking at the other side of the donut, the outside of the donut, then we run the risk of overshooting, which will result in climate change, ozone layer depletion.
It means uncontrollable.
So we put pressure through our economic activities. We put pressure on our environment, but we need our environment to sustain ourselves. But because the economy doesn't take the environment into the equation, we actually have put a lot of pressure on the environment. So what she is suggesting is that we change a different kind of economic model, the donut model, to judge how far we are. I mean, you can fill that out and say, okay, how is an economy doing? And that's basically looking at the state of affairs at the moment. And the red parts are basically either a shortfall on certain things or on an overshooting on other things. Like you see, for example, in terms of overshooting, we see there is a climate change is a big problem. Biodiversity loss is a big problem. Nitrogen and phosphorus loading is a big problem. On the other side, the inside of the donut, we see that social equity is a problem. Political voices is a big problem. We see the lack of food is actually becoming less of a problem. So this is a way to actually visualize, okay, how are we doing as a whole? Not just looking at a single number, but saying, okay, how well do we manage to actually get a better understanding of the entire picture?
So outside donut, what this mean?
That's the ecological ceiling. Outside of the
ecological ceiling.
Ecological ceiling.
They can't handle by themselves.
Ecological ceiling means that we have gone too far. That by managing the economy the way that we are doing, we are actually putting we are actually at risk, or we're actually in real-time climate change. That we are losing biodiversity. Species are going extinct.
She's talking about climate change, like ocean. What's it? Ocean.
Ozone layer depletion.
Ozone.
Yeah. Or ocean acidification.
Acidification.
Yeah.
Or air pollution.
Yeah.
But those they cannot manage.
well, we can manage, but we need to make sure that we put that into the equation. That, well, how are we doing in our economy if we are actually making a lot of money, but at the same time we're completely destroying our oceans? Then it will come back to us because we are actually endangering our own future. If we're only focusing on the money, if we're only looking at the production function, we're only looking at GDP, then these things will not be put into our evaluation of the economy.
So how
So we
about
need a
how
bigger-
about the inside circle?
Inside the circle, that those are the social foundation. We can look at only at the environment. That means, okay, let's all just grow our own vegetables and be happy. But that's of course not enough. We also need to make sure that people have certain welfare. That means education, food, shelter, energy, things like that, in order to meet in our basic needs. But it also means equal rights for women, for example, political voice for everyone in the country, gender equality, housing, you name it. So that's the social part. So how is our society managed? How is our income distribution? Is there enough for everybody? Is it equally distributed? Are our kids being well educated? Do we have good health care? How does our society work? And how much pressure do we put on our ecology at the outside? So the inside looks at the society, and the outside looks at our environment, basically.
How do you like this?
I like this. I think that we are trusting. There is a benefit. There is a absolute benefit of measuring GDP because it gives a good idea of how the economy is doing. But we need to understand the definition of economy is completely incomplete, and that means that we need to understand that only focusing on GDP, what we have been doing in many cases, on profit maximization, and believing that the invisible hand would make everything go away and make things better. That is not true, because we see all these red parts here. By focusing only on GDP, created a lot of problems in our society. Our economic models are insufficient. So I think this is actually a better approach.
What is that called? It's just not CSR, more related to investment.
Corporate social responsibility?
That is CSR.
Hmm.
So the concept is beyond the concept of CSR. More related to the business flow. The money will be circulated more with the concept of CSR. The CSR alone cannot generate the money. It's like the investment.
Well, if you, for example, why do companies buy into a CSR model? Because they want PR, right? They want good publicity. They want people to invest in these companies.
It's just emotion.
It's emotion. You need to brand it, just like what we were talking before. If you want to people to do the right thing, they need to be able to show it to the world. Otherwise, it doesn't give you anything. So corporate social responsibility is a way to actually allow companies to brand themselves, and they need to take certain steps. So the steps. There is a program for it in order to do that. My friend from university is the current director of a corporate social responsibility program. This is a government-sponsored team.
Is it similar to this?
It actually, I think it's similar to this to some extent. Yeah.
But I tell you, Japanese CSR, many companies failed, actually. Right? As you know. like Toshiba, and how come they did for CSR? Too much, how? Okay, too much superficial.
Superficial. Yeah. Well, I mean, basically we're here, and CSR is around for already 10 years, maybe longer actually. Maybe even I'm here already for 10 years, so probably 20 years. We have CSR in the Netherlands, and I don't.
By the way, what is coming from this chart? Actually, what is the result from this?
Well, basically, what this chart aims to do is aims to show that how our what the state of the economy is, and what the state of our society is.
What does she want to read from this donut?
She wants to make sure that we are going to change the way that we are running our economy. That we are not have a universal, like a single point of interest, GDP maximization. That's her point. So she says, okay.
So she said, need to consider more points.
Yes, we need to be much more. We cannot.
Like
we
I
cannot
tell
judge
you,
success.
I tell you one example. Chinese government, they changed their performance evaluation of their bureaucrat from GDP to including environment. Adding environment.
Right. Bhutan has the happiness, like the happiness measurement, I think, as the not GDP, but the happiness indicator.
There's one example.
So, I believe that humans are very good at abstracting the situation, at creating models to better understand how they work. We use them in physics, in Newton, the laws of thermodynamics and things that were mentioned by Rifik. But actually, they are models. They are simplifications. But we really start to believe in our own models, and that becomes problematic.
Whenever you're talking about Bhutan, is very dangerous because that country is very small.
Yeah.
The same as Setagaya Ward.
Right.
So you're talking about Setagaya Ward.
It's the only country in the world that has the national happiness indicator. So that's
okay.
how.
No. I'm talking about Setagaya Ward and we happiness world now. The same.
Yeah.
And because why I recognize their prime minister, they had a good speech. I saw this. Oh, this look like talking about kind of Japanese some city of mayor level,
Right.
not high. So they are talking about that like that. So this is what my question is. What this one you show that. Okay, we every time we don't talking about just only the GDP one figure.
Right.
But also we need to consider many aspects.
Right.
China is one aspect. They also consider GDP plus environment measurement, performance measurement for evaluate for their officers. This is more simple, not like this is very sophisticated.
Yeah, this is
many parameters, very difficult to judge. What is the best way to judge?
right, but doable because we have all these we have all these measurements. They don't just drop out of the air. There's a lot of ways that we can measure things.
I think your recommendation is instead of GDP one figures, where you're going to prepare all those 20 of the performance measurement.
Right. And see, okay, where do we need to focus? Where do we
Too
need
much.
Yeah, but these are all serious problems. I mean, if they turn red, then it's a serious problem.
Well,
There's not enough.
I tell you, this is woman like woman is like this. She's going to speak lots of compliment. Oh, so many. Oh my God, She woman association. She needs to keep this one. Who's going to maintain this kind of performance measurement? It's impossible. This woman prepare.
Yeah.
Men never make this. More simplified.
So
Okay, next. What we have more 5 minutes. So you can summarize today.
okay, yeah, unfortunately. Do you all know the law of thermodynamics?
What?
The law of thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics.
What does this mean?
He was talking about that.
Thermodynamics. What is this?
Well, this is about the heat loss for production.
Heat loss.
When
Oh,
you produce.
heat loss is the heat performance.
Basically, in every step in the production process, you lose heat. You put not all the energy that you put into your product is actually ends up in your product. There's a lot of heat loss in the process. So that's the second law of thermodynamics. So very simply put, every step of the production process we lose energy. We increase production, we lose energy through energy inefficiency. So economic growth, more production is associated with energy loss. In times the economic growth demand arises very quickly. Oil is a finite energy resource. Our technology platform depends on it. So we need to change the platform.
What mean we change the platform?
We need to go through the third revolution and change from fossil fuels to renewable energy. So what is energy intensity? Energy intensity is a measure of the energy efficiency of a nation's economy. It's calculated as the units of energy per unit of GDP. High energy intensity indicates a high price of cost of converting energy into GDP. Low energy intensity indicates a lower price or cost of converting energy into GDP. So in this case, we see here that the GDP per unit of energy used. So how much energy, if you use 1 unit of energy, and we are using the energy unit, oil equivalent. This is, I think it's called BTU, the British Thermal Unit. That's basically, so we add together different energy sources, gas, coal, oil.
So higher number is good or bad?
Higher number is good. Higher number is good. But it's not a complete measure. Because it doesn't say that high is good, because basically it means that if you use 1 unit of energy, you are able to produce $12 of
why China
GDP.
is worse? Because they are using coal.
They're using
coal?
a lot. They are very energy inefficient.
Coal.
Yeah.
Energy.
Yeah. So they need to use a lot of energy. But at the same time, also their GDP is lower, so it's not really fair. We're comparing apples with oranges. Therefore, this is a better graph. This is not easy to read, but you see here energy inefficient, moderately energy efficient, and highly energy efficient.
What is the right hand side? Is Bangladesh?
Bangladesh.
Why Bangladesh is?
So we see actually, if we look at the GDP per million BTU, the thing is they don't use energy in Bangladesh. They probably can't afford it.
BTU.
Yeah, that's the British Thermal Unit. British Thermal Unit. That's a way to measure this, a unit of energy, and actually it's the amount of energy used. I don't know. 1 kilo of water, 1 liter of water. That's the same, but I think that's actually one liter of to raise 1 liter of water with 1 degree.
So they don't use energy.
They don't use energy because they are also very unproductive. But they actually the GDP that they produce, they are actually using very little energy. So it's a manual labor that is producing the GDP.
How about the left side? Russia and Ukraine?
Russia and Ukraine, they are completely at the other side. So they are they use a lot of energy, and they are also unproductive. So that means that basically Russia and Ukraine, they have a higher GDP, but they use a lot of energy in the process.
How about U.S.? High productivity.
U.S. is they are also energy inefficient. They use a lot of energy, but they are very productive.
What do you mean productive?
Productive means that they actually have a very high output, a GDP per head.
So, better device, better label.
So basically what we see here, if we look at the energy consumption, we see that these countries they consume a lot of energy. But if we look at the actual the GDP per head, then we see that there's a different group. Here we have the Taiwan and Spain, Greece, South Korea. They are moderately productive. The GDP per capita is somewhere in the middle, but they also use quite a lot of energy. Then we have the group here, the Europeans. They also use a lot of energy. They are a little bit more productive, so they manage to create more output per energy unit. And then we have Canada and the US. US uses a lot of energy, just basically the same as these European countries, but they are actually highly productive.
I never heard about the GDP per capita. Per capita? Per person?
Yeah, per capita, per person.
Per person?
Per
Oh,
person.
okay.
Per person. A capita is the same as a
Okay,
person.
per person. Yeah.
Yeah, so we also see that these countries use more oil per head. They're not necessarily more productive.
But the expression of the bottom line is not so good. Highly energy efficient is Bangladesh? Okay.
Well, it's energy efficient, but they use very little energy.
Yeah, but the expression word is not accurate. Not highly efficient.
So basically, without using any energy, they can still produce output. But so basically, in order to put it
Are they energy inefficient? Left side energy inefficient?
left side is energy inefficient. Yeah, they use a lot of energy in their process, in their production process. Bangladesh doesn't. They only use manpower, physical power.
What this chart means?
This charge means that we can look at what we saw here, but it doesn't mean much if we don't put it in the perspective of how productive people are. And so the rate of return on this energy consumption here, we can make a statement here. Bangladesh is a very advanced country because they're very highly energy efficient. No, it means that basically Bangladesh doesn't have the money to buy the fuels, and they're doing most things manual.
Yeah, Bangladesh and Philippines is exceptional. We better say the similar level of the GDP, and Hong Kong is more efficient. So
Right.
This means
Absolutely.
like Hong Kong's economy is more dependent.
It's more efficient. Yeah.
Like finance.
Exactly.
And US is doing more heavy industry, like the car manufacturing, like the heavy farming.
Exactly. Yeah. So in this group, Italy is the most energy efficient, actually.
Italy is what?
Well, I mean,
tourism.
yeah, and Italy actually they also do relatively a lot of farming, and they also don't need a lot of energy to warm their houses because the temperatures there are relatively fashion brands.
So fashion brands is generating.
They don't produce anything but Ferraris and Fiats.
Yeah, the same one, Switzerland.
Switzerland, yeah, basically Switzerland doesn't do anything. They just keep their mouths shut.
Mm.
So it's making sure that you compare the right countries with each other and see, okay, how am I doing vis-a-vis my competitors?
Explain again why Hong Kong is
Oh,
better than US.
Hong Kong actually is very productive, but it uses actually, they are also moderately energy efficient.
How efficient they are?
So, for example, if there would be an oil shock, if there would be a price shock and the oil would go up dramatically, that would really hit countries like Russia, Ukraine, Saudi Arabia. Well, they sit on their own oil, but Russia too. But it would really hit those countries very hard because they are very unproductive. They need a lot of oil and they don't even produce a lot of GDP. In this case, also it would hit the US hard, but still, I mean, they are very productive, so they can still remain competitive. These countries are there.
Okay, just let me try to confirm again. Energy inefficient. How inefficient?
Basically, they are not capable of generating a lot of output for the energy that they use.
Like central heating?
For example.
Or
a lot of heat loss.
Industrial, characteristics.
Yeah, it could be. Like if
so
you have
Hong Kong, there's less amount of heavy industry
right.
Companies.
Yeah, but actually, don't be mistaken by that. Yeah, for example, steel production is kind of energy intensive, but because it's so energy intensive, these industries have become rather energy efficient. They have become rather energy efficient.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe we should keep this one for next week and start there. The German energy.
That is Dutch. German is a language.
So the Energiewende. The Energiewende. These are the German targets. Yeah. This is what Germany is doing. And I think this is very interesting because I want to know what Japan is doing. In this case, what are we doing? Why are we? Because it's very interesting what Germany is doing. The targets that they set, the way that they are focused on getting into this third industrial revolution, in having a competitive advantage, and the way that they do it because they have become the leaders, the global leaders in this movement, and they are inviting others, and they are actually selling their technology. They're bringing in new technology partners into their country, so they're already taking the leadership. And I'm afraid that, and not because of Mr. Rifkin, by the way, because this movement already started in the 1980s with the Green Party became a serious political factor. But because he really makes it sound as if he's the inventor of all this, but that's not exactly true. He captures it quite eloquently. But it's not all his
Okay,
idea.
we're going to finish.
Okay, all right. So next week, the Energiewende.
Okay, thank you very
In
much for
Deutschland.
today.
Okay, thank you.
ありがとう。
I'm tired.
お疲れ様でした。Hey, your escape button is...
No.
Ah,
Thinking.
it's
Okay.
Thinking.
it's a spinning beach ball of death.
Yeah. And just, yeah. Somewhere. Oh, you didn't. No, not that one. Ah, okay, this one. Hi, 皆さんこんにちは、雲野です。 今日はですね、雲野塾の研修のプログラムをご紹介したいと思います。で、こういうふうなホームページありますけれども、ぜひですね、一度中身をご覧になっていただきたいと思います。今日はブーキューブさんのスタジオに来て、この収録をしておりますので、中身はこういうふうになってて、今最近ホットなね、グローバルリーダーの定義など書いてあります。で、特に経団連が作成しました、留学すれば英語ができて専門性を持つというだけではですね、グローバルリーダーになれないと、ここに書いてありますようにですね、仕事ができる、専門性を持つ、英語ができるだけじゃなくてですね、私どもの塾ではリベラルアーツということと、それからもう一つは孫子の兵法、さらにはですね、日本の歴史というものを合わせて教えることによって、皆さんが海外の欧米の方々と、もしくは華僑圏の方々と正々堂々と渡り合えるような人物を育成しようというふうなことを考えています。ここに次のスライドが出ておりますけれども、ここに書いてありますのはですね、さらに、私どもの雲野塾の中身につきましてはですね、欧米の資料しか使っておりません。また実際に雲野塾は英語でやっておりますので、英語の講師がこう話しておりますけど、学習はですね、日本の歴史をまだ教えて